Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good morning, everyone. It is May 22nd, and we're going to call to order the Community and Economic Development Authority meeting to order. And the first order of business for us this morning is to do a roll call. Joyce. Sorry.
Hamilton.
Here.
Hardy. Here. Maldonado.
Here.
Potts.
Here.
Cleary. Sanders. Here. Vafadari. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from April 24th, 2025 that staff sent out early last week. Has everybody had a chance to look at them and offer any corrections or feedback?
So the only thing I noticed was that you have Mark calling the meeting to order at 7 a.m., but that he's arriving at 7:05. So unless he called it to order from the parking lot, I'm not sure. I remember somebody came in at 7:05, but it wasn't Mark. Not that probably matters.
Oh, I'm sorry. That should have been Mario.
Mario's right there.
Got it.
And let it be noted that Mario is now here and present at the meeting. So, any other changes or corrections to the minute? Yes, Andy.
Also note there was an additional special guest. I've already talked to Joyce about. There should be an
Mr. T. Potts was noted.
He was noted, but I believe there was an age inaccuracy.
Yeah, you're
as well.
Archer inaccurate.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I guess, if we want that documented.
As long as his mom's okay with him being documented in the minutes.
Document away.
Okay. So we will make those modifications to the minutes. Are there any further modifications or suggestions to the minutes? Hearing none, we will move approval with those changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we will move along, and they are approved. Are there any public appearances for non-agenda items this morning? I don't see anyone on the screen, and we don't have anything in here. So we'll move forward. The next item on the agenda is the Resolution R8625. So take it away, staff.
All right, good morning.
Mark, can we get a motion first, please?
Sorry, we need a motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Is there further discussion on the motion?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of give you some background. Again, I kind of shared a little bit about this RFP process for the housing plan. So we issued a RFP on February 28th. We received a lot of feedback from various consulting firms. So all in all, we had about 12 people or 12 organizations that connected with us, about 7 that sent an email of intent. And we kind of brought that list down with a steering committee, and 2 members are here. Actually, Jenny and Mark were a part of that committee, along with Janice Hughes, that chairs the senior committee, and then also Brad. And so we chose 4 organizations to interview, and we had a unanimous vote for redevelopment resources. And I'll let Mark and Ginny kind of share their feedback of what they thought, but this organization was phenomenal. I think they really had a pulse on what we need here in Fitchburg. They have done a phenomenal job with some other communities, and they're really thriving in housing, and I really like that. And then also when I did references, excellent feedback from each of the communities. So Ginny and Mark, did you kind of want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo everything you said. They were just, it was a no-brainer to me. They were great. They are so local. That was what was, I think, appealing, because many of the other groups were national groups or, you know, from other communities. And so it felt like there was a learning curve there with these national groups, whereas redevelopment, they're in our community. They've done many projects in other communities around us, and they just seemed to know what we were trying to do, and they were familiar with all of the employers in our area. There just was a comfort level there. So, and we liked that they were actually physically here too. So there was not, you know, travel expenses, time spent traveling. They just feel more ingrained in our community. So I guess that was the big sell to me. Would you agree?
I wouldn't add anything different. I think the only other piece I would add is some of these funds were vague about if it goes over the amount budgeted, how would that be dealt with, or if they go down rabbit holes, so to speak. And so I agree. Locally, knowing us, they did a very good presentation, and it was unanimous, as everybody said. So I would support what's out there as well. So
I have a quick question. Did they at all talk about or offer up any experience working with kind of a blended community such as ours in between urban and rural? And like, was that discussed at all in terms of how are we going to address a housing plan with kind of the unique makeup of Fitchburg in that space?
Yeah, I think that we kind of got in the weeds of that, but we did talk about, you know, Sheboygan was one of their communities, and as you know, they're really kind of leading the charge with housing, so that was really impressive to know that they were a part of that community. So,
Kristen's on Zoom if you want to ask her directly.
We're going to let her give an introduction.
Were there any other questions before I introduce? Okay, so we do.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Can you be more specific as to what these people are going to prepare as for the report? What are they doing? Identifying current and projected housing needs is pretty general. What specifically are they supposed to do?
Yeah, Kristen, I'm going to introduce Kristen Fish-Peterson, that is the owner of Redevelopment Resources, and I'll kind of let you explain what you'll be presenting to both the committees and also the council.
Good morning, and thank you. It's great to be here with you. We're excited to get started on this project, and I can tell about what we're going to do and then address the question about our experience with blended rural and urban communities. So the study itself will take place over the rest of this calendar year. Our goal is to present it in December to the City Council. And in the meantime, we're going to be starting to do a lot of secondary data digging and then a lot of primary research. And that primary research will include interviews and focus groups, survey, attending community events, making presentations and gathering feedback from your committees throughout the city, hosting neighborhood meetings, trying to get a real feel for what's really going on in Fitchburg with housing. And we heard loud and clear during the interview process that the aging community is a big factor. And I agree, in any community, the elderly population has a unique housing need. And every community is unique. This kind of answers the question that was asked about urban and rural, but every community is unique. and we look at every community in its own way, knowing that you're, right up next to Madison and very urban in that context, but you have a significant amount of land and property that are also bordering farm fields and rural communities as well. And so we did just complete the downtown Oregon master plan. So we were seeing the Fitchburg signs right there when we left Oregon. So we know where you're at. We know a bit about the community, but we're going to learn a lot more. So beyond the primary research, we're going to use secondary data sources to get as much data as we can. And then we check and balance that, because sometimes the primary research tells a different story than the secondary data that we're seeing online. Then we'll look at existing conditions. We'll talk to local realtors and say, what's the market in Fitchburg like? How many properties are available right now for sale, for rent? What's the time on market, days on market? What's happened to the price point? Are those homes is the price of homes increasing or decreasing? And we noticed that, I've read yesterday, the market really isn't slowing down, but it's not as fast paced as it has been in past years. I don't know that it's going to slow down very soon, but we will then define your needs specifically. We will look at, we do a really in-depth demand chart for what Fitchburg needs. We're going to take into account all the new employment. We're going to look at, and job opportunities. We're going to look at existing inventory. We're going to look at what's on the books to be constructed. And then we'll say, what happened in history? So most housing charts we see in many communities, a ton of the housing was built before 1939. And then there was a pretty even pace of construction every decade between 1939 and 2009. And then things stopped. So how do we make up for what was not constructed since 2009? That'll all feed into the demand chart, and we'll come up with a very detailed demand chart that will show the number of rental units and the number of owner-occupied units that are needed in the community, and then we try to balance that out by price point. So how many affordable units, how many market rate, how many workforce units, what type, how many bedrooms of each, how many 2 bedrooms, how many 1 bedrooms, how many 3 bedrooms, what type of senior housing is needed, what can people in Fitchburg afford when it comes to senior housing? I mean, many people live on a fixed income, so will they be able to afford a payment for rent if they sell their house or leave their single family situation where they're living independently? So that's a high level overview of what we're going to be doing, and we learn something new every time we do a study like this. So how the urban meets rural will be something we haven't encountered specifically like Fitchburg has it, but we did do a recent housing study in Sheboygan and then Plymouth, and Sheboygan would be, in my mind, a good mix of urban and rural, but Plymouth would be more rural with the impact of urban. We did a housing study in Rockford recently, and we did a housing study in Northwest Illinois in 4 different counties, which was very rural. Then we did one in Crow Wing County, Minnesota. So we had the Brainerd urban with the outer communities that were very rural, but they were also resort. So we have that mix of high-end resort homes on lakes versus the workforce that serves the resort community, very different needs. So we will look at the unique needs of Fitchburg from every angle and come up with our best recommendations for housing solutions. Then we also study programs and policies that you have in place to help incentivize what's going on with your zoning code, what's going on with your TIF incentives, that kind of thing. We'll look at all of that and we'll come up with our best recommendations.
And Dan, this is a revision of the 2019 housing plan. That's, I think, the ultimate goal.
Well, you answered my question. That was good. When you use the word affordable, what do you mean? How do you define that?
Well, there are many ways to define that.
That's why
the government who subsidizes some housing says that people should only spend 30% of their income on their housing. So if you make $200,000 a year, you should only spend 30% of your income on housing. That would be affordable to you. Then we have the, so that's the very, very vanilla definition of affordable. If you only make $12,000, spending 30% of your income on housing is going to be nearly impossible because you're not going to find a place to live for less than, whatever that ends up to be with the math, but 4,000 divided by 12. So there's a difference between low income housing. So I think what people, when they say capital A affordable, they're talking low income housing. When we say lowercase a affordable, we're talking affordable to everyone. What's affordable in your pocketbook? So capital A affordable housing would be the low income or subsidized housing, section 42 as WIDA incentivizes it. But we want to look at what's affordable to the people who live in Fitchburg. So we'll differentiate between capital A affordable and lowercase a affordable.
So lowercase affordable is what can the people in Fitchburg reasonably afford for housing? Across all income classes. Is that correct?
That's, yes.
Christian, can you also share about the other team members? I didn't talk a little bit about that are part of the project.
Sure. Yes, Dana Sarver is, she works directly for Redevelopment Resources, and she is affectionately called our data geek. Actually, that's her title on her business card. She digs into the data very deeply. She finds new sources of data to solve different problems, and she is the one who designs the document in the end too, so she makes it look nice so that people can understand it. It won't be over the heads of the average reader. It will be a usable document. And then Dean Prestegard is a team member. He has his consulting firm, DMP. Let me get his exact company name here. DMP Development Analytics, and he is an economic analyst, and he's really going to help us look at the economy in Fitchburg in terms of how housing, where it's located, and how much is constructed will impact transportation, routes to employment, how it's impacted by employment and jobs, and give us that look about, so we'll have an angle on the economy in Fitchburg that is a deeper dive into the connection between housing, jobs, transportation, and how if we're looking at incentivizing or recommending housing for seniors, where should it be located so they have the best access to services, retail, transportation opportunities, and things like that.
I have one final question. Thank you for going through all of the different communities, because it seems like your experience, especially in Wisconsin, is going to be invaluable. Can you just speak about the ability to have Spanish speakers or people who understand Spanish at community events? That's been a large part that we want to make sure in all of our community engagement that we are making feedback as accessible as possible.
Sure. We have provided copies of our surveys in other languages in the past, and so we can make a version of our survey available in Spanish. We also have Dana's in a unique position because her daughter has just spent the last 2 years in the Dominican Republic working directly as a teacher of English as a second language. So she's fluent in Spanish, and she's coming home from her time in the Peace Corps, I think in the next month. So we have access to Audra, and we will definitely utilize her skills when we need them for this project.
Awesome, thank you.
Further questions? Andy.
Yeah, so I was just looking through your website, which is very nice, and I noticed a lot of the projects you mentioned, like Rockford and Sheboygan, Crow Wing. One thing I did note on there was that there's a piece listed about work you do for private developers, and just had a question there on, are there any concerns about there being any conflicts with developers who might be currently working in Fitchburg?
We have not worked directly for developers in the Madison area. I'm trying to think. I'm a developer myself. I recently, well, in 2022, knowing the problems that the country is having with housing availability and doing the housing studies that we've done and working in communities, I have a passion for redevelopment. And I thought, why am I not part of the solution here? So having helped the private sector with economic development deals, and primarily the previous work I had done was helping developers on commercial developments navigate through requesting incentives from the public sector. I went ahead and redeveloped an old hospital in Iowa for myself. And so I own it's an 8-unit, it's a small hospital, so it's an 8-unit building. But I went through that process, and it's given me some great insight into the development process and the struggles that developers go through to try to just get something built that can be on the market for a reasonable rental rate. And right now we're helping a developer in Wausau, one in Minocqua, and there was another one. We helped one in Hobart, Wisconsin, and I think that's it. So we aren't working with anybody in the Madison metro area from the private side.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Lorraine.
So Kristen, how will you utilize this committee when working on this plan?
I think this committee is going to be a great first focus group for us, where we can come in and hopefully spend somewhat of a working session doing a focus group with you as stakeholders in the community. And then we would, I think we have scheduled in our proposal, we did actually identify when we could present to the various communities for feedback on some of the things we've pulled together, but let's see. August and September to kind of get feedback. So we would hope that if you asked for an update at any point along the way, we could provide either a written update to the committee, or we could attend a Zoom meeting to give you an update on what we're hearing from all of our public input gathering and things like that, but then start kind of sharing some of that feedback with you in August and September. And if you wanted us to do a final presentation at the end, we could do that as well.
I would support that. I think it's important that this group hear it before it goes to our city leaders for final approval. And I know you're trying to have this done by December. Is that roughly where the time frame is, folks, to wrap it up?
End of October, early November.
Okay. For some reason I thought it was the end of the year. So, okay. Other questions for discussion? Yes, Mario.
I do have a quick comment too, and I think that this is great. And I was thinking around the same lines as well, how this group can be a resource for that and have an ongoing conversation as opposed to just quick updates here and there. But I think that there are a lot of, at least I think that in my mind, there are a lot of issues out there. For example, workforce housing. We have spoken about that need and what Fitchburg can do to support that effort as well. I think that the demographics is important to think about, not only for the language aspect, but also on the different ages as well. We talked about seniors, but then there are younger people. Renters versus homeowners, it's also important. Last time I checked, we were close to 50-50, but what's the future of that? And are we gonna be more rural? Are we gonna make an effort to stay, to keep the urban aspect of it? And also the quality of existing housing units out there for renters. I think that that's also important for me. So again, there are a lot of issues that I hope that we can keep or have an ongoing conversation as this develops. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. So, Kristen, your list is getting longer as you begin to work into this, but I think those are all important points, and they did share a number of those during their presentation, and I think that it will. Are we ready to go forward with the voting on the motion? Okay, the motion's out there. It's been seconded. So is all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Mike?
Yeah.
Opposed?
Just want to make a, no, the vote is good. I just want to make a comment.
Okay, make a comment. All yours.
Yeah. Okay. We're excited to launch this project. We have the initial kickoff with Kristen and her team on Friday, June 6th. It's going to be the initial kickoff to kind of talk about the approach going forward and kind of the timetable of different things. But I think we've got a great consulting team here with Kristen. We know all three of them through our kind of past history here, and have worked with Dean on some T-grant applications when he was at the Department of Transportation, Dana when she was in Verona and everything, and Kristen just through our activities and involvement with with WIDA, without an H there. So I think we've got an excellent team here to launch the update. And this was our first housing plan in 2019. Great document that's been guiding our work and still guides our work to date. But so much has changed since 2019 in the housing market. So we're in desperate need of an updated document to help guide us going forward there. So I think we're excited to get going. And the plan is to have kind of the data and the summary wrapped up October, November, with the formal presentation of the materials and packaging of it in December.
I just want to add one quick thing. I just really want to appreciate staff and everybody who was part of asking for this, because if you look on paper, since 2019 doesn't seem that long ago, but it is crazy. Like if you ask people to pick out how the housing market would change since 2019, it's mind-blowing. So thank you for prioritizing this, because again, on paper, it's like, well, it hasn't even been 10 years, but it's like an unrecognizable today versus 2019. So thank you.
Yep.
Okay, other comments? All right. Get to work, folks. Oh, she's already gone she's already gone to work. Okay, moving along on our agenda, hotel room tax considerations. Mike and Joyce.
We've got the report, and Jeremy's going to help me. Joyce has hard copies for folks that are in the room, and then I'm going to flash up on the screen just the room tax report there. So we've got the first quarter in, and as you can see, we've got a slight decrease there at about 3.31%. We're hearing from Destination Madison, our regional partners, that this is kind of a trend right now in the region. Some of the business travel and corporate travel has not, let's say, bounced back, kind of post-COVID yet with things. I think the other thing that's happening a little bit is our Wyndham Hotel at Hatchery Hill has a new owner as of late last year, and I know they are investing some significant dollars into the property there. So I think we also have, we'll have some kind of room inventory that'll occasionally be offline as they continue to invest dollars in that property. But we're excited to see them investing dollars in the property. They've also secured a restaurateur that replaced the Tuscany at the top there, Zaffarino Ristorante, if I'm saying it the right way, Italian and Indian fusion. If you haven't checked it out yet, very good food at that location. I think we'll be fine as far as, even if there is a slight decrease, I was conservative in our budgeting with about $545,000 for the full year. So I think we'll be in good shape. And then if you remember, we will have a new property coming online in October as well, so we won't get quite the full fourth quarter, but we'll at least get some of a bounce. That's the 100-unit Spring Hill Suites. That's along Nesbitt Road adjacent to Pancake Cafe. So I think we'll be okay with our numbers going forward, but we'll monitor that as we continue to go to the second and third quarters and see where the trends are. So that's the first quarter. Any questions on the numbers or anything like that? Okay. Then we just had one request in the packet, and that would be for the Boys and Girls Club White Party is coming up. I went to it, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and then Lorene, you went, was it last year? Yeah, for it. So we just wanted to see if we could get authorization for potentially 2 tickets, kind of the general ones that are $75 each, I think, in the packet there, if we're available and are attending that event.
Do we need a motion on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I move to approve.
I will second. Any further discussion? Signify by saying aye if you approve. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, Mike.
And before we leave the room tax topic, just one thing. We are already starting our 2026 budget process. The budget packets have been issued, and the schedule is out there. So one thing that we've been talking about internally is we may look at a room tax rate increase. So we've been talking to our local tourism entity, Angela and her team, the mayor, city administrator, and finance director about maybe bumping up our hotel room tax.
How do we compare
rate.
to other communities?
We'll be bringing that information forward. Yeah,
okay.
we're
That's
pretty comparable, or we're on par, or maybe below.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
but we'll have that as
due.
part of the budget process. Yeah, for it.
Okay, anything else on those topics, Mike?
No, that's it.
Okay. We'll move forward to item number 7, the Economic Development Director and Committee Member Reports.
And I'm going to let my colleagues, Joyce and Lorene, kind of kick it off with some housing updates related to specifically the Efficiency Navigator program.
I guess that's me. As I mentioned at our last meeting, they're moving forward with the updates on the first phase of the project. Found some small gas leaks, one that was more of a concern and was needed to be addressed immediately. I got an email that there'll be a change order request coming in for about $4,000+ for a property that they went to do the insulation in and found that the roof was needing to be replaced. So the property owner is going to replace the roof. However, all of the insulation in the attic is molded. So thus the additional dollar request for insulation. So we should be fine on that. Our contract says that we can just approve that administratively. So we should be good. We have the dollars. We're working on getting the quotes for the next phase, which is going to be quite significant. We're hearing that the window costs, which is what we're looking at doing, have increased a lot. And so we're getting quotes together on that, and I'll have something for you. We had 3 options. We had the option to not replace any of the windows. We had the option to just replace the front windows, or we could pick one building to do the window replacement. And based on what our feedback was from this committee and through the housing plan, it was a priority to upgrade those older multifamily. That was the number one priority for our housing advisory committee, was to work on updates to the older properties. So after talking with Mike, Lorene, and Misty in our finance department, we're going to bring forward replacing all of the windows. We did put additional dollars in the budget for 2025 to expand the program. So, and there's still a possibility of getting funding from the community change grant that we worked with Madison on, so I will keep you posted, but that will probably be coming to the next meeting. They're working on it now.
Could I ask a quick question about that?
Sure.
This is just my assumption, but we recently got quotes for our home windows, and it's very large. I'm not replacing my personal windows anytime soon. But my assumption is that when we replace these windows, we're trying to not have complex bay windows with multi-panes. We're trying to do kind of not cheap windows, but more sustainable windows in terms of easy to replace, easy to maintain. Is that a fair assumption when we're talking about stuff like this?
Sure, they're going to be energy efficient, because at the end of the day, remember, these are all NOAA properties that the residents pay for the utility costs. So this is a direct benefit to the resident. So yeah, we're going to, obviously look for the best windows at the best price. And the contractors that are working on this, they have a lot of experience. They worked in Madison, they worked in Middleton, so they know what they're looking for. So,
but they're not going to be the top of the line Anderson, windows. They'll be
I don't think
a
so.
reasonably priced.
Yeah.
As best as we can get for the budget.
I think at this point, anything we replace them with, based on what we saw when we did our walk around, will be an improvement over what's there.
Joyce, as someone else who's looking at windows now too, there's also tax credits out there. You kind of got to dig to find them, but there may be some kickback coming that way with tax credits. I don't know for this project or not, but I know there's some out there.
I do know that too, and I do know that Sustained Dane has, they've gone through all those processes, and I'm sure when Claire comes, if she does, you could ask her, but I know that they've looked into everything that they possibly can, because that's why we waited to do any heating to the next phase, because of rebates. So.
Okay, thank you. Other comments or questions?
We just decided on this program that if the intent of the program, again, is to reinvest in that older multifamily housing stock and the smaller units that are mom and pop owned. But if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And if it takes some additional resources, and with our TID for housing dollars, we want to go all in and just, get it upgraded to the extent possible.
Well, taking care of the mold in the insulation, I mean, if that doesn't justify everything that we're doing, that's insane. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know that, health and safety was a big focus for Mike and I when we started talking with, we'd still like to revisit the sprinklers, but, maybe that's a future conversation that we can have, but that is one of our goals as staff here, is to make sure that not only are places energy efficient, but they're safe.
And I also think it was also a focus for this committee as well when we did surveys, was health and safety was an issue. So.
Okay, keep going.
No.
Just to, so obviously the housing plan has been a big focus that I've been working on, but also I recently provided an email about a tour for the Hartung fields. So just if you haven't responded, please respond. But so far, it appears that most people are able to do the tour on July 1st. I'll wait for a couple more responses, and then I will let you know. So do you want to kind of explain what that tour is about?
Sure, yep. We have a unique opportunity along Lacey Road in the Sain corridor. We've got 3 different types of housing product that it's a chance to get to take a look at some of the new housing stock here in Fitchburg. So we got the Lacey Ridge townhomes. They're at Lacey Road and Notre Dame Drive. And then in Hartung Fields, we've got the first of 3 multifamily higher density buildings. It's called the Juniper. is the name of the first one. And then we've got 51 townhome units as well. So since it's in a tight geographic area, we thought this might be a good chance to give Housing Advisory Committee and CETA members and other folks kind of a sneak preview of the housing stock that's being built over in that corridor and area of the city as far as new housing stock as we try and add units to hopefully help bring the market back into some level of balance and equilibrium.
Do you know what time that tour is tentatively slated for?
At 9 a.m. And then also after the tour, if you're available, lunch at the VFW.
So if you haven't RSVP'd yet, please reply.
Thank you. Okay, other comments?
Okay, anything else?
Did you want to talk about kind of the buckets at all at this
Yeah,
point?
yeah, I've got
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So a couple of things. First off, on just housing developments in general, a couple of updates for you. Jacob Klein, who is proposing senior housing development along Nesbitt Road on the lot north of Gymfinity Gymnastics across from Quivies Grove. That minor comp plan amendment to allow residential there in higher density has been approved by the council. And that's going to be 3 80-unit buildings. We're hearing from Jacob that 160 of those, 2 of the buildings would be affordable light tech. And then the third one would be market rate there. So again, that was one of the goals in our 2019 plan. We needed to add 600 senior housing units, and we've done really well on that front across the whole spectrum of senior housing. But this will be the next kind of project to come forward. But as part of that, now that we know that the minor comp plan amendment is approved, I need to reach back out to Jacob and his team over there. We're going to need to amend tax increment district number 18, which we just created in 2024. And that's the one that was along Commerce Park Drive north of Lacey Road. It was created as a rehabilitation TID for the reclamation of some of those Payne and Dolan quarries on the north side of Lacey Road. So we're going to need to use Verona Road as kind of that connector to get it on the west side of Highway 14, and then go through kind of connecting Quivies Grove, use Nesbitt Road, and then we get on the west side of Nesbitt Road. So Joyce has already scoped out kind of the parcels that we would be looking at, but stay tuned for that. That'll be a process that we're going to need to go through this year. So that's kind of a new to-do on our list to get done. But Joyce has that process down to a science here, and we'll be working with Ellers on that to move that forward. And then we'll be able to work with Jacob on a tax increment TID request as well as part of that. Then the other one that is winding its way through is the Olive Tree. The townhome units that are going to be along Rimrock Road and Maloney Drive. This is an infill development, 20 units over there. And that one is already in tax increment district number 16 that was created in 2023. And there will probably be a tax increment request for the reconstruction of Maloney Drive there. So stay tuned on that one as well. But some good proposals as far as housing coming forward. And then the memo that Lorene mentioned, we've been working directly with the mayor and administration on a housing programs and buckets memo. So we had another conversation yesterday, but at our next meeting in June and at the Housing Advisory Committee in June, on June 9th, we should have a memo to share with you on what are the housing program priorities at this point in time, the buckets and the dollar amounts kind of allocated to those programs, and then kind of a prioritization of those programs as well. So as you know, we've launched the Efficiency Navigator program. The next one that'll be coming is we're going to kick off a deferred loan program. And this is for the Uptown Hills development, another workforce housing that North Point Development is doing. East of Sain Road, north of Haight Farm Road, Sean O'Brien and Lane Manning are doing 24 townhome units that are a LIHTC deal. He's got the LIHTC tax credits. He's got Federal Home Loan Bank in the capital stack. He's got Dane County Affordable Housing Fund. And then we're coming in through our TID for Housing Fund with $330,000. for it. So that will be coming forward to the council in June to finalize that. And as part of that body of work, one of the things that we were in desperate need of is our city attorney is at full capacity. And with all of these housing programs that we're kind of launching, we really needed some additional legal expertise. So we worked with the mayor and administration and with Valerie to put out a request for legal services. We got 3 proposals in the end, and so we have contracted with Axley to provide some additional legal services with us. So they are working on the documents that are needed for that deferred loan program. So once those are finalized, then we'll be taking that to the council at either the first or the second meeting in June. And then we will keep Axley kind of on retainer for us. So as we continue to develop new programs, so like a land bank one or a land acquisition will be another one that will be teeing up. We'll be working with them. So we've got them on retainer for us now, which we're really excited about and appreciate the additional expertise for it. So we'll keep you posted on that, and then we'll bring that memo to the June meeting of this group. It's going to go to Housing Advisory on the 9th, Council on the 24th, CEDA on the 26th. I got the dates all right there. But we've been spending a lot of time on that, and the housing, of course, is a priority for the mayor and all of the elected officials as well as staff here. And so we want to continue to advance those programs and utilize our TID for Housing dollars. Another program that we're going to be working on the housing front, and this one will be operated through the existing TID districts as much as possible, is the idea of workforce housing units within a market rate building, where 10% of the units would be at 60% of Dane County median income. We tried to do a program up on North Fish Hatchery Road on Index with Bella Springs, but they needed to move quicker than we could kind of develop the program. But we've got some program parameters already kind of in the formulation stage. But there's going to be an opportunity in Uptown with Avante for a new building at the corner of the roundabout of East Sherrill Parkway and Lacey Road for a new building that we're going to have a discussion with them about being the pilot for that program. So I need to re-engage with Ellers and with Avante, and hopefully we can finalize parameters that work for them and also work for us as a city. And then that would be a pilot program through TID number 13. So that wouldn't come out of the TID for Housing Fund bucket. It would come out of dollars through an existing TID. The cool thing about it, and this is where we were working with Ellers on this one too, that one could also be a deferred loan where we do it up front and then it's paid back at a 15 or 20 year period on the back end. So it could maybe help to add to our TID for Housing Fund bucket on the back end there as we explore some of these deferred loan concepts here. So we're trying to get creative.
So Mike, is the financial incentive for the developer to agree to something like that they get a low interest deferred loan?
Yeah, I think in this case, where we were at with Venture Capital up off of Index Road, it was that first of all, we were going to fill that rental gap differential between a 100% market rate building and then the gap where 10% of the units are going to be at 60% rental, rates and everything. So we were filling that, but where we were still working with the venture capital was they were like, okay, city, that's great, but kind of what's the incentive for us,
right,
to do this? And so they still are, Mike Thorson from Venture Capital is still supposed to be getting me kind of their counter proposal of what they think it would take to, incent them enough to do that and to work with us.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for it. We also, Joyce did some good work that the annual kind of certification, the property owner, if they partner with us on a program like this, can contract with WEDA, with an H, the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, to do the annual kind of certification and everything for a very cost-effective rate there. So we think we've got a good system where we're headed. We just need to figure out what's that kind of differential there that's incentive enough. So we'll re-engage both with Venture Capital because they were going to get me that counter proposal, and then with Avante to see what we can come up with that works for them, and for us. But we kind of learned about this idea when we toured Shorewood Hills and John Flatt's buildings over there, both the the boulevard on University Avenue that has the ATT and the Potbelly, and then residential above, and then the Lodge Apartments across from the Target store out by Hilldale, all are operating under this program. When we were touring with John, he mentioned, oh, by the way, 10% of the units are at 60%, and Sherwood Hills provided tax increment finance. And we were like, well, this is another, Light Tech is one model, you know, to create a new supply of affordable units, but this is another way to integrate them within market rate buildings kind of around the city. So we thought that was a really healthy way to add some more affordable housing stock and to get down to that 60%, you know, threshold and everything. So.
Hey, Mike, got a question for you. Maybe about 2 months ago or something, we had here 2 people from Forward Community Investments.
Yeah, they were here.
Yeah. So, and then they were also talking about potential opportunities here in Fitchburg, and they went through over their model. So, are you also communication with them about this partner, or how are you engaging with Forward?
Yeah, we I haven't had any recent conversation with them. Have you, Lorene? No. The one thing I did after that meeting, Mario, is there was a project in particular in the Southdale neighborhood that we checked in with them on. And what we were asking about was it was going to be a mixed-use building west of, there's a building at 2500 Rimrock Road, and there was going to be a mixed-use building that hopefully was going to bring grocery to the neighborhood with residential units above. And so we checked with them, with the group, to find out if that was still in a qualified census tract to qualify for like new market tax credits and things like that. And the response I got back from them was it's not anymore, which was surprising for us for it. But then some things changed with that potential proposal anyway, where the land seller decided that they weren't interested in doing kind of workforce housing at that site, that they couldn't make the numbers work. So then it was going to be just straight up maybe a retail commercial building over there. But then that didn't materialize just because of some construction costs and kind of financing hurdles at this point in time. So we're going to continue to kind of, because we have interested parties, but I think maybe the current economic and finance conditions are challenging, you know, for them. But I don't think they've given up on it long term there. I think hopefully we can revisit it at some point in time. So we'll stay in communication with them as we have projects, you know, available with Forward Community Investments.
You everything answered? Okay. Anything else, folks?
Okay. I got more. Yeah. So we've got the Juniper, the one that we're going to tour over there in Hartung Fields, just a heads up, they're going to start to take occupancy mid-June, so that's good. Then the other thing that we'll have coming later this year is we'll be launching the housing plan on June 6th. But then in September, we're going to be launching an update to our Forward Fitchburg City in Motion Economic Development Strategic Plan. So that'll be the next one that we're teeing up in September. And then that'll be probably a 6-month process that we would wrap up at the end of the Q1 of 2026. But this is another one that so much has changed here, and with the growth and development, not only in Fitchburg, but in Greater Madison and Dane County, that we could use a refresh and an update of this plan. So we will be bringing forward information over the next couple of months as we look to launch that process in September. And we'll be engaging this group in that process again, just like we did the last time around. It was updated in 2018.
Mike, a question on that. Is that the one that Brad Sippel's leading? Who's leading this? We are. Okay. So what's the one that Brad is working? Is he the comprehensive plan?
No, he's doing 2 neighborhood plans.
Okay. I thought there was something else in the works.
Well, so
I stand corrected. Thank you.
No, 2 neighborhood plans are coming forward for formal consideration. Okay, they've been working with the steering committees. So the schedule we're hearing is August, September for consideration. That would be South Stoner Prairie on the west side, and then Greenfield over along Sain Road and everything. So those will both be winding their way through. Then after those are complete, Mark, then next up for the planning department is a major comp plan update. And then also a zoning code rewrite and update as well.
Thank you.
For it. So those will both be moving forward there. Then we've got new owners at Hatchery Hill, which is a good thing. So the building where Panera is, the Great Dane, and then the one where Tapatio's with their recent expansion is located. We've got some local owners again, which is a really, really good thing. And they've been spending significant amount of money already to put in a new roof, replace some of the crumbling walkways and everything there. So I think this is going to be a real positive for that area. We were scheduled to meet with them today, but got word that they need to reschedule with us. But we're going to just kind of talk about the positioning of that area, as well as kind of the marketing and leasing of some of the spaces like the bike shop and some of the vacant ones that are there, and how do we work together with them, and also utilize the Buxton software that we have access to, working in partnership and in tandem with them. But I would say if you haven't had a chance to check out the recently expanded Tapatio's, pretty impressive over there as far as their expansion. The grocery store is owned separately. That's a separate parcel. That's owned by Bob Sweeney. So it's locally owned, and then of course Kroger's and Roundy's has the long-term lease. But at the end of last year, I made contact with the senior VP of real estate at Roundy's Kroger when they were going through what they call the repositioning of the store, and there were just a lot of questions and or concerns that we were hearing from people. And so he's supposed to let me know when he's coming to town so we can walk the property. And you might have seen they recently redid the parking lot. They've done the white trellis on the outside that was rusting, the concrete pillars. But one of the reasons I'd like to meet with them and walk the store is just to talk about kind of the interior there. They've been replacing some of the old, inefficient freezers and coolers there with the upright ones. So they're making investments, but it's a 27-year-old store. And so we just want to kind of chat about the kind of their future investments and everything in that property.
Mike, back to your meeting you've got coming up today. That group has been working with us about placing some bicycle racks throughout the facility. We've got something up at Great Dane. When they're done doing the work by Tapatio's, they pledged to put one there, and we're trying to figure out a couple more places. But they've been very responsive in terms of getting people to ride their bikes up there instead of driving their cars. Mm-hmm. So if you could just hit on that as you meet with them, that the support's appreciated, but we need to continue making it more bicycle friendly.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
And then Bowman Plaza, sometimes I get questions on that one, and that's going to be a 2026 project. We're working with Ned Hoyt. He's going to be doing that project specifically. So we've been in conversations with him about the TIF request for that. So we're trying to line up the timing of the demolition of Bowman Plaza and the new construction value so we don't deal with decrement within the TID district. So instead of demolishing it this year and then having decrement on January 1st of 2026, they would look to demolish that early in 2026 and then start to get significant valuation in the ground so we manage that decrement going forward. So we're finalizing some of the details of a TID request, and then that'll be winding its way through to Finance and Council once we got that the details worked out. And then if you haven't been over on the west side, earthwork has mobilized over at our Jamestown quarry across from Super Target there. So again, across the front, we've got 4 uses, a Chase Bank, Chick-fil-A, Crew Car Wash, and a McDonald's. Those will be the first 4 there. And then the developer, Jeff Hunley from Colburn Hunley, is working on a collection of the junior boxes in the middle. And then the northern third may be another residential development, but as Fitchburg veers to the east, Corey Frank, who does the Texas Wrap buildings with the parking in the middle and then the units wrap it, is already, the walls are going up over there in significant work. So it's great to see the activity happening over there in the reclamation of the outfield portion of the quarry. There's still the infield where the Wingra operations will remain for the foreseeable future, but we're excited to see that work happening over there. And then the other one that'll be coming, now I'm switching to the east side, UW Health Physical Rehabilitation Hospital in Uptown should be breaking ground. We don't know date yet, but sometime this summer. which will be the next kind of corporate healthcare anchor use to the first of what will be a significant campus for them long term. So we're excited to see that come forward.
Did you say next summer?
No, this summer, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I said next, but it's this summer. Yeah. Okay. And then I may come to this group under a room tax request. The mayor has a project that I'm on a work group with to do a history wall here in City Hall. As you come into the door and right to the right there where the mayor's pictures used to be, they moved those down the hall in between City Hall and the community center. And so she would like to see a kind of a Fitchburg history wall. So there's a work group that's been engaged that includes representatives from the Fitchburg Historical Society, administration, senior center, and a group of people that have been visioning that. But she's got a budget for it, but we may need to add some additional dollars for it. So we may be coming to this group to kind of supplement what she's already got identified for a really good quality design, and working with a group that we've worked with in the past. So stay tuned on that. That might be a June or a July request.
Okay. Anything else from our staff? Yes, Joyce.
I just wanted to say that we attended the Urban League Workforce and Economic Development Summit. Mario was the rock star when he did an introduction. We were very proud of you. We were cheering you on in the back. Great event. I would love to see more staff and CETA members engaged in that process next year. It's a great networking event, and so we enjoyed it at least. And if you're free, we are having our annual Memorial Day observance at the Gorman Wayside, 12:30. We have Mr. Edward Murray as the keynote speaker. Dynamic guy. I've spent a little time talking to him, and you'll learn more about his experience and his contribution to the Black community, which is really outstanding. So that's Monday, 12:30. Watch the website. In the event that it's going to rain, it'll be moved to Fire Station number 1, and that would be announced Friday at noon. And I think that's it.
Okay. Are there any further items for discussion this morning? Any announcements? Oops.
And next Thursday, 2 things. There's a Greenfield neighborhood meeting, and there's also Yahara Bay Business After 5. So it'd be great if we could support that business as well.
Okay. Thank you. If you can put an account. Yes, Nicole.
I just had a kind of random quick question. You were mentioning like parking lot upgrades for like the, yeah. Is this group or is another group responsible for interfacing with businesses to understand when parking lot upgrades are going to be made?
Depends who you're talking about.
Depends on who. I am talking about specifically the movie theater parking lot that my car falls into holes in their parking lot.
Yep, we just met with them.
Awesome.
Yep.
Actually, we've met with them twice within the last month. We met with the manager, Katie, and Katie's got it on her list. She's working with actually a local Fitchburg business on getting prices. And then we also met with Katie and Luke is the asset manager, to talk about current and future visioning for the theater. So yes, we have been in contact with them.
Great.
So.
Thank you, Katie and Luke, for taking that on your list, because I know it's not a cheap investment, and we love having that theater in our community, and the parking lot needs some love. So,
Are there any other parking lots you had in mind? Or was it
no, just that one.
Okay. Yeah, well,
Just that one.
I wouldn't disagree with that. So
just that one.
And to
yes, Mike.
follow up on that and what Joyce already shared is, my understanding is the west side, south, where it was really bad, they've already fix that and everything. But part of our discussion with them is, when they reduce the seating capacity there with the recliners, the overflow parking is not needed on the west side. So our conversation started with Katie, the local manager here, and the real estate is actually owned by a REIT, a real estate investment trust out of San Diego, California, Realty Income Corporation. And then AMC leases the building and the parking lots from them. So that's why we engaged with the asset manager there to have the conversation, because last year there was a use that was coming forward on the front half of the overflow parking lot that we weren't really excited about. And but it allowed us, it gave us the opening to engage with them to say, hey, if that land is going to be available, we want to work with you to come up with a use that works for and is complementary for the theaters as well as for the city and everything. And so we've been having conversations with them about working together. And then one of the questions that we've had, of course, is it's strictly limited to a land lease, or is that property also available for sale? Because Joyce and I have had some conversations with some entities, specifically if it's for sale, that they would have interest. And we would be excited about those uses, and we think they would be complementary to the theater. But the one thing we learned is that it's a decision that is a joint decision with Realty Income and AMC as far as what uses they would be open to or not open to at that site. But we think there's an opportunity there, and so we're going to have continued conversations and hopefully figure out if we can put something together that is a win-win-win all the way around.
Okay, go ahead.
As we're driving around, though, if we see things, like parking lots, we usually then go to building inspection and go to Jack. He's kind of my go-to guy. And then he'll go out and contact the property owner and kind of start the conversation that way. So I've done that with him with the Pick and Save store. We've done it with the hotels, when there have been some issues, the theaters and everything. So that's usually where it starts. But if you see something, and if you're somewhere where it's like, oh boy, this really needs to be addressed, shoot us an email, and we're happy to help communicate and coordinate that with building inspection to get it corrected.
I guess I have one more.
Go ahead, Joyce.
I just wanted to let you know that the Mounds Pet Food has closed. I reached out to the manager, and they're consolidating their stores to a Junction Road address, and that building is now for sale. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Everything took place before we even had a chance to even do any outreach, but it was definitely a business decision, is what I was told. So not, anything that we could have done to change your mind.
Well, there's also a catering company going in where the former Little John's was, correct? I mean,
right.
You can see vehicles in and out of there, and there's a sign there now, I think. Blue Plate, yes.
Blue Plate Catering is going in there, yeah. And that whole corridor, now that the 7-year road reconstruction is done, is in transition there. So it's great to fill buildings, and Blue Plate is a great use and reuse of that building. The Loxley is open as an event center there, but we're also having conversations with people along that corridor about what I would term as more catalytic kind of redevelopment, potentially with multi-story mixed use in some locations and everything. So that one's going to be in transition, I think, as we work with some of those property owners and some of those uses. And that's why we have the TID district in place, is to maybe help drive some of that more catalytic type redevelopment that makes sense long term there. And then the other one that Joyce is trying to get a pulse on is the folks at La Hispana is supposed to be locating in the former Quick Trip there at Williamsburg Way, but we don't have an opening date yet. They had said a couple weeks when Joyce contacted them a couple weeks ago, but we're waiting to see their progress and kind of get an opening date, because I know that's of interest for the neighborhood as far as when that'll be open.
So I think it's easy to say there's a lot going on in our city, a lot of different moving parts. So thank you for keeping a pulse on it and letting us know where things are. You folks have anything else from staff you'd like to bring up this morning? Anything else you folks like to bring up from staff standpoint?
No, we'll think about it later.
Okay, all right. We're moving on to item number 8, announcements. Any announcements from anybody? Okay. Yes,
Are you going
Mike?
to give an update
Sure, if you'd like an update.
on H&I?
Yeah, I can give an update on H&I.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was asked to, I am representing CETA on the H&I committee, along with about 6 other people that also serve on this committee. And every year since 2018, I think, they have been giving grants to groups in these neighborhoods, healthy neighborhoods that apply. And this year, Jessica Wolf is now leading this project for the planning department. And this year we had, in January, we had 19 applicants. And we reviewed these applications, and then in March, reviewed them in February. In April, we had a meeting where everybody but one presented, and there was $145,000 available for grants. It was originally $125,000, and there was money left over from the year past that our city leaders moved into the projects. There was $145,000 available, and the awards went to 13 of the 19 applications that were awarded, and I can read them to you if you'd like, or we can go over the fact that this was the same amount. There was 14 given last year and 13 given this year. But I'll quickly just tell you who they are. There was a big focus on food and being a food desert. This committee had a huge discussion about people being able to get food. So the food pantry, which collaborated with Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, was given an award. River Food Pantry, Rooted. Leopold PFO came in with a unique presentation about getting their people engaged that work up and live up there with things going on with the PTO. Boys and Girls Club, Active Youth Wisconsin, which is a new group that has been coming forward with things, again, engaging our youth and engaging the schools. And they're going to do all this work in these neighborhoods as that goes forward. CMC, Badger Perry Needs Network, again, which is the food pantry in Verona. Madison Reading Project. We heard a presentation at one of the community events the chamber sponsored about somebody who was running for, I think, school board. And he talked about his first goal was reading and getting kids to read. They had a very good presentation. UNOS, The Road Home, Roots to Rise, and Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Both Boys and Girls Club and Big Brothers and Big Sisters are going to work on mentoring programs. Is what they came through with. So this is all online. Jessica did a very nice job getting us through I think it was a 4-hour meeting to hear all these presentations. And they're ready to roll, and they will come back and give an update in the fall, and then a final update at year end. And as I said, there were 3 organizations a year ago that did not fulfill the amount they were granted, so the city rolled it back in. So it was a very good process. I think it was well run. I think there was plenty of engagement, and I think everybody that presented had a good need to present. There simply just wasn't enough to totally go around. So that's the update. Any questions? But as quick as I can make it before my voice gives out. And I apologize for the crummy cold. I'm sorry. Okay. Is there anything else in announcements for the committee? Hearing none, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by our 2 people to my left from the District 4. All right. Let's take a vote. We're all the favor, so I say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Our next meeting is Thursday, June 26th, and we are signing off.
Thanks, everybody.